Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video.
2022 was a return to the outdoors. After a few years of competition focus, it felt like top climbers were once again focused on pushing grades, and it led to some exciting stuff. Young up-and-comers finally getting ahead of the established pros, famous routes seeing repeats, and maybe, just maybe, for the first time in a decade, the mantle of best climber in the world changing hands. This is my list of the best climbers heading into 2023. As usual, I'll give a bit of a disclaimer that the criteria for this list is somewhat open-ended. I try to balance sport, bouldering, and competition, which I know is a bit messy, but it's also kind of fun. There's also some recency bias going on. Resume does matter, but an ascent in 2022 is going to count more than an ascent in, say, 2017 would. With that being said, let's jump in at number 10, one of the greatest climbers alive today, Daniel Woods. Now, some people might think that 10 is a little high on this list for D Woods, and I sort of see where they're coming from. The man is a genuine living legend. He has a strong case to be made as the greatest boulder of all time. He's still crushing, and he's sport climbed up to 9B. There's only a few climbers who can claim to have done that much balance between the two disciplines. He's shown no signs of slowing down either. As recently as 2021, he was pushing the limit with his proposed ascent of Return of the Sleepwalker V17. 2022 was another impressive year of ascents, with routes like Insomniac V16, Multiverse V15, a V14 Flash, and multiple 8A plus boulders. In an alternate universe, Daniel Woods sends one of the other V17s that he spent a lot of time projecting on in 2022, and he's much higher. As it is though, he couldn't quite put those routes together, and there are other younger climbers who have done them, who we'll get to in a bit, but the point still stands. Daniel Woods is one of the greatest climbers alive today, and I would not be surprised if he does something really, really hard in 2023 and makes me look dumb for having him this low. At number 9, we have Alex Megos. Now, as a self-professed Alex Megos fanboy, this feels a little low for him on the list, especially because he had a really good 2022. He had two 9B first ascents with Ratsdaman Vibrations, a longtime Sharma project, and the Journey 9B. He put on a clinic on a trip to Margalef, ticking off another 15A and multiple hard 514s, some of which he climbed in a single day's session. Megos is still one of the strongest climbers in the world. He has two 9B plus first ascents to his name, which puts his resume in rarefied air, and I have no doubt that with the right project, we could see him right back on the cutting edge of climbing. I would love to see him on something like DNA or La Blonde if it still exists. As it is though, his resume and quantity of hard sport climbs earn him the number 9 spot on this list. Speaking of quantity of hard climbs, that brings us right to number 8, Drew Ruana. Ruana doesn't have the V17 claims that other boulderers do, but he's a young up-and-comer and he probably has the best V14 resume of anyone currently and maybe of all time. He is a quantity machine. In 1 month in 2022, he sent 7 routes V14 and up, including one V15 and Ice Knife V16, an infamously hard Daniel Woods route. What's more, 3 of those happened back to back to back. He sent Ice Knife, then did the first ascent of a V14, and then repeated a V15 one day after the other. For reference, I once touched the starting holds on a V12, and I had to take 3 weeks off just to rest my pulleys. Ruana has also put a lot of work into Megatron, the world's newest V17, and it seems like he's getting close. He's fallen off several times after making it past the crux, so do not be surprised if 2023 sees Drew Ruana being added to the growing list of V17 climbers. At number 7, we have Jakob Schubert. Schubert is a staple of the sport climbing world. He's one of the big 4 who have dominated that scene for the past decade. He's a 9B plus climber, an Olympic bronze medalist, and he's bouldered up to V14. 2022 was a relatively quiet year for Jakob, but something big looks like it's just on the horizon. He spent long periods of time in Flatlanger Cave projecting what's known as Project Big, an unclimbed route that some have said could be harder than Silence 9C. He didn't get the send, but reading his Instagram posts, it looks like he was very close, and there were 2 tries in particular that Jakob says he feels like he could have sent it. Schubert looks like he's poised to have a great 2023, but as of right now, the lack of a signature ascent this year keeps him just out of the top 5. At number 6, we have a climber who did have a signature ascent in 2022, and it was a big one. Before we get to that though, a quick word from today's sponsor, Squarespace. If you want to talk about rankings, Squarespace is the #1 platform for no-code website building in the world. They have everything you need to build a unique online brand with handy tools like their pre-formatted website designs, customizable layouts, analytics, social features, everything you need, whether it's content or hard products that you intend to ship to consumers. I spent about 2 weeks in undergrad trying to learn how to code, and it sucks, so it's so much easier just to go to use Squarespace to build your online platform. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to get started, use the code Ascensionism for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. At number 6, we have Aidan Roberts. For a while, Aidan Roberts was one of those climbers. You know, those climbers who are racking up a list of really hard but not cutting edge climbs and posting these insane strength videos that you just want them to sit down and project something super futuristic so you can see just how strong they are. That was Aidan Roberts, and in 2022, he showed us that he was as good as we all thought he could be with his ascent of Alphane V17. This made Roberts the 5th, 7th, depending on Sudan Soul, 5th or 7th person to send V17, and he did it in an impressively short period of time. Alphane only took him about 17 days of total work, even though he did some specified training in the middle there. That is an insane period of time to send V17, a grade that just a few years ago was mostly theoretical. Roberts could well be on his way to being the best boulderer in the world. He has a commitment to specified training, and he loves hard projects, having been one of the few people to take on Nalle Hakataival's Burden of Dreams out in Finland. 2022 was a breakout year, and it really feels like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with Aidan Roberts. At number 5, we have Stefano Ghisolfi. Stefano has been one of the best sport climbers in the world for a long time now, and 2022 was another strong year. He ticked 2 9Bs, Move Hard and La Renta, and even dipped his toes in the bouldering world where he climbed a V14 without too much trouble. More importantly though, he spent significant periods of time projecting Silence, one of the hardest routes in the world. If you were following his vlog series, which are really good, you would know that he made some very solid links on the route, and he's planning to come back in 2023 with a little more strength to complement his already world-class endurance. Stefano already has 2 9B pluses to his name, and he's looking to add a 9C to the resume. He's trying Silence, he's trying Excalibur, he's putting time into these cutting edge routes, and 2023 looks like the year that he could finally make the jump. At number 4 is Will Bosey. I called Will's rise last year, saying I was putting him on my top 10 list because of his potential, and in 2022 he proved me right, becoming the 3rd person to send Alphane. Like Roberts, Bosey did it in impressively little time, taking only about 12 sessions to get the route down. He's also been on a bouldering tear, ticking 10 V15s and FAing Honey Badger, an incredibly hard V16 that I wouldn't be surprised if it got upgraded. Furthermore, Bosey is a talented sport climber, having 3 9Bs to his resume, 2 of which many people have said are at the upper end of the grade limit. That makes him one of only 2 climbers, along with Dan Woods, to have sent V17 and 9B. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he could send another V17 or 9B plus in 2023. If you're looking for dominance over multiple areas of the sport, Will Bosey is right up there, and there's a chance we'll be talking about him in the conversation of best climber in the world this time next year. Before we move into the top 3, I just want to give a few honorable mentions to climbers who didn't quite make the list. Tomoa had an up and down season, but showed he's still one of the best competition climbers alive. Giuliano Cameroni has been crushing 8C boulders all year. Jacopo Larcher ticked off Meltdown in Yosemite, and working with Babsi Zanger, made a no-falls all-free ascent of Eternal Flame. James Pearson, after getting Tribe last year, ticked his first V15 this year, and made the ascent of Lexicon E11. If there was an 11th spot on this list, it might have gone to James. There's only 10 though, and now we're moving into the top 3, starting, as controversial as it may be, with Adam Ondra. I know. Knocking Adam out of the top spot was not a decision I made lightly, especially when he made a late season push by sending Zvernik 515C and then getting a first descent of a V15/16 boulder and then on-sighting 14D. And yeah, that's a pretty impressive week of climbing. It might be one of the best weeks of climbing ever. On top of that, he spent significant periods of time working Project Big, and he just had a kid, and Ondra is still a very, very good climber. He might be the best climber of all time. The thing is though, except for his recent 9B+, Ondra hasn't done too much cutting edge climbing in recent years. He spent a lot of time preparing for the Olympics, and ever since Silence 9C, which was back in 2017, we haven't seen Ondra really push anything above 9B. Now, he's done a lot of 9A to 9B routes, and that's harder than I will ever send, but the rest of the world seems to have caught up to him just a little bit. Ondra could still very well be the best climber in the world, especially after this last week, which he had to have right as I was scripting this video to throw off my entire list. His resume is unmatched. If I'm balancing who had a better 2022 with who I think will have a better 2023 though, for the first time in a decade, Adam Ondra has lost the top spot because a couple of young and up-and-comers have begun pushing grades up to and maybe past what Adam can climb. At number 2 is Sean Rabatou. Sean is an enigma. He sent a world-class series of V16s and then just didn't tell anyone about it. More importantly though, he got the first ascent of Alphane and Megatron, 2 V17s, and then didn't announce the news for months. Now, I already know I'm going to get comments about this, so I'm just going to call it right now. Alphane is not going to get downgraded. It's not going to happen. Will Bosey is a sandbagger who doesn't know his own strength. Alphane is going to be V17, Megatron is going to be confirmed as V17, and a few years from now, we will be looking back at 2022 as the year of Sean Rabatou. It's rare for anyone, especially someone so young, to get 2 first ascents of such a cutting edge grade, and it just goes to show how strong and talented Sean is. What's even more exciting is that he has other projects on the go. The right exit to Alphane is rumored to be V18. Sean says he wants to try bibliography. If 2022 was any indication, the career of Sean Rabatou is just kicking off and he's going to have some very impressive ascents in the near future. Just don't expect to hear about it for a little while. That brings us to number 1, the best climber on the face of the earth today, Sebastien Bouin. Seb Bouin has been floating around as one of the best sport climbers in the world for a long time now. As far back as 2019, he was this undercover crusher with a pretty good resume, and then in 2022, he just broke out. Seb's resume this year was bonkers. Iron Curtain, 9B. Jumbo Love, 9B. Nordic Marathon, 9B/plus. Change, 9B, which Bouin downgraded to 9B/plus. He loves his slash grades. Supreme Jumbo Love, First Ascent, 9B+, which he did in 2 weeks. DNA, 9C. This may be one of the best sport climbing years we've ever seen. 2 9Bs, 3 9B+, and a 9C. It's insanity. We are still waiting on a grade confirmation for DNA, but Seb isn't exactly known for being soft with his grades, and Jakob Schubert has spent a little bit of time on the route, and he says it seems really hard. You could maybe criticize Seb for being a specialist because he really only sport climbs, but 2022 was so impressive in terms of volume of difficulty that I don't think it's enough to keep him out of the top spot. Again, putting Bouin above Ondra might be a controversial move, but Seb looks like he's just getting started. Ever since clipping the chains on DNA, he has been on an absolute tear. He's showing no signs of slowing down, and he is the best climber in the world heading into 2023, unless of course you disagree with me, at which point let me know in a comment. I would love to hear from you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.